Sabi C, of course, one of the headliners of Coachella this year. And in weekend two, she brought out Madonna for a cameo during her set. So Madonna performed her new single, I Feel So Free, which we just talked about. Geoff, did you see any videos of this performance?
Of course I did, because you know I love Sabi C, and you know I love music.
And I know you love Madge.
I do. So I had to watch it, and I thought it was very fun. It was obviously, I think they must both be with Warner Brothers, right? This has to be like a synergistic kind of matchup.
Could be.
It's gotta be. It's gotta be. I'm not going to do the research. It's just a feeling I have. But I want to tell you, I think that...
Sorry, that's the title, alternative title to the pod.
It's just a feeling I have.
I didn't do any research. It's just a feeling I have. I'm an adult. Justin.
Ara Shim Shim Arami Azusea. Geoff.
And welcome to Bands. And welcome to our episode about the A24 film Mother Mary, Geoff, starring Anne Hathaway. Can't wait to talk about that.
Where Anne Hathaway.
So true. And also, quick note for the listeners. If you're listening to this, we want you to send us your questions for our 100th episode mailbag.
100 is coming up soon. We've got 7 more until we get to that time.
Yeah, it's coming up, and we want a big stockpile of questions that we can select from. So send an email to bantspod@gmail.com, or, you can also DM us on Instagram if you would rather go that route. Either way.
I love it when you slide into the DMs.
Slide into our DMs with some questions. We love questions about pop culture. We love questions, advice, if you want advice on something.
Oh, I would love advice questions.
We love questions where we can tell you what to do. Yes,
nothing made up.
Are you remembering a certain listener who sent a AI-generated advice question in our last mailbag? Is that why you're bringing this up?
I don't recall it being AI-generated, but I do remember one that was like from Reddit.
Well, guess where the AI is trained, Geoff?
Terrible.
So we'll do advice, if we'll even go outside pop culture, you know what I mean? Like, what you want to know about us? Ask us. We'll answer on the pod, live on the pod.
We'd love to.
But Geoff, that's enough of the logistics. That's enough programming notes. How have you been? How's your weekend?
Oh my God. My weekend's been great. It's been a little bit dreary, but I did some gardening. I have vegetable gardens, raised beds.
Okay.
I put up a beautiful trellis. I'm glowing. Ooh, look, I'll pull it into frame so you can see. I have a beautiful climbing rose that I'm growing, starting inside.
Wow.
It was about yay tall 2 days ago. It's loving this little bag, and it loves to sit in the sunshine. So I'm very excited about that, because this is a variety that is very fragrant, and it will grow on the vine, and it should grow like 3 to 4 feet in the first year. And it's going to help with bringing all sorts of pollinators, Justin, over to my vegetables to help them produce.
I see.
So it's very exciting.
God have the pollinators.
Please clap. Everybody clap.
Editor Justin will decide whether to put in the crickets or an applause sound. Who's
wow.
to say,
I want a rousing round of applause. How have you been? How was your trip out to California?
California was great. I was in San Diego for work, and
San Diego?
It was San Diego. San Diego, weird city, positive. It's just like strange because there's like these little neighborhoods, and I guess this is all California cities, but I'm so used to like East Coast cities like New York, where it's pretty like easy to get from one of the neighborhoods to the other, and there might be like different personalities, but like you can see multiple neighborhoods pretty easily. The conference center in San Diego is right nearby a neighborhood called Gaslamp District, which is kind of like the most touristy area.
Sure. Sounds like La La Land.
It's kind of like Vegas, but less depressing, or like a little bit like what I imagine like New Orleans is like. Lots of bars, lots of restaurants, but like not a lot of locals.
You've never been to New Orleans?
Yeah, I know. That's why I said what I imagine.
You have to go to New Orleans.
Do you want to try that again?
No. Delete it all.
You feel like you really just killed the accent there?
I don't think I did. I think it was really bad. Let's move over. Let's move along. Back to the Gaslamp District of San Diego.
Yes, Gaslamp District, it's very touristy. There's not a lot of like natives who live in that area. Whereas like there's different places like Del Mar where there are locals and like are more beachy and like there's more like fun stuff to do that's not just like spend money.
Mm.
So I did have a good time, and the food and the bars are cool in that area, but it is like definitely like a commercial district, you know?
Yeah, I've never been there, but I was supposed to go sometime this year because my dear friend Zach lives there. He really wants me to come visit.
Shout out Zach. Yeah, it's very his vibe. I'm imagining he probably doesn't get out to Gaslamp very much.
I wouldn't
Doesn't seem
know.
like his vibe.
He lives near an airport,
Oh,
or the airport.
well, maybe that is actually close to Gaslamp.
He lives near a flight path from the airport. I don't know how close it is, but he does complain about the jets flying over, and I do sometimes hear them when we're on the phone.
I see. Okay. Well, the airport is right next to like the conference center, which is convenient. It was the same conference center that like all of the like Comic-Con, Marvel like press
Oh,
conferences are at. It was a big, very big conference. So
wow. And did people come by and conference with you? What happened at said conference? Give me more details here.
I don't want to talk about work on the pod, Jeff.
Okay. Well, Justin, speaking of airports,
Are you kidding me with that segue? You didn't even know where you were going. You were just going to try to fucking build the plane while it lands. Speaking of airports.
I am building this plane
While
while
it's
we're
flying
landing.
in the air. That's the actual phrase. I fucked it up. But
It's
Jesus
okay.
Christ.
You could say we were building the runway while the plane was coming into land.
Sure, there we go.
Parallel metaphor.
And let's land this plane by getting into hot topics, Jeff. How about that?
I'd love to get into some hot topics.
Okay.
What about Charli XCX?
Yeah, so a couple things we touched on last week, but because we had this long gap, there were a few things that, you know, news broke after we recorded the pod, but before it released.
Justin, what about me coming up with some gay-themed t-shirts like Mind the Gape?
What do you mean, what
that
about
would
that?
sell?
Are you asking me if that's like a good like business strategy?
What do you think of it?
You think people...
Mind the Gape.
So this is for people who are into the subway and are going out to like circuit parties. That Venn diagram.
It's more about people who just like think that it's a funny pun. Mind the Gape. I think it could be a thing.
Okay. Well, don't give out your business ideas live on the pod, Jeff.
And isn't that more the London Underground? Mind the Gap?
I just meant like the general idea of like a subway, a metro, you know, an underground
Justin
train.
is not cultured, you guys. He doesn't know the difference between the fucking T,
Boston,
the subway,
New York.
the underground,
That's London.
the MBTA.
I don't know what that is.
Trick question, also the T. Wow, Justin. This man doesn't get around. And you people trust him to be the fucking arbiter of culture? I don't think so.
Jeff, you last episode we were talking about how we're both arbiters of culture. That's like kind of the whole bit of the pod, you know?
What? No, I don't know.
Why don't we get back to hot topics, because that was a bit of a sidebar.
We never did get onto the hot topics, so let's actually get into them for the first time now.
We talked about Charli clearing her Instagram last week. After we recorded,
Yes.
there was an interview that came out in British Vogue where Charli gave an interview along with many of her collaborators, including A.G. Cook, George Daniel, her husband and collaborator, about her new era, which she is calling herself a rock era, which I think you actually joked about on the pod. You were like, so what is she going to do, like Fleetwood Mac? And to that I say, I don't know about soft rock, but certainly rock inspired. So Jeff, what are your thoughts on this interview, on this new era for Charli? What do your expectations look like?
I like that she is like, I'm just going to do what I feel like doing. She's trying something totally different. I think that she's fascinated by forming pop culture and changing narratives, and less about like figuring out what's hot. She's like, I'm going to do what I want to do, and then that will change the taste of the culture. And she's been doing that for a very long time, way before Brat. Like, I think that Vroom Vroom, that era where she was dropping those singles, like really changed the taste of music. And people were like, oh, hyperpop is an interesting subgenre that we really haven't explored before. In fact, I don't know that that term necessarily existed in the zeitgeist before she released those singles, like back in, what was that, like 2013, 2014?
I think it was like, I want to say it was like 2016, 2017.
Okay, maybe it was later than that, yeah. But I don't think that it was like a very popular, well-known genre of music. And so I think that she and PC Music, her collaborators then really kind of changed the taste over time.
Yeah.
And like made pop music like something to like not just like hear on the radio, but to like consider in as a real artistic media.
Yeah, definitely agree. 2016 was when Vroom Vroom, the EP, came out.
Okay.
I was just going to say that, yeah, I agree that PC Music probably is the number one creator of like the idea of hyperpop and stuff like that. And then, of course, Charli was not far behind in collaborating with PC Music and, you know, Sophie and A.G. Cook and those folks on Vroom Vroom. So Vroom Vroom was not like a really mainstream success when it came out. You know,
No.
it was big if you knew.
IYK.
Yeah, exactly. If you knew, you knew. But otherwise, it was not really like super mainstream. And I think it kind of bubbled up with 100 Gex, and then even How I'm Feeling Now was also very hyper pop, and that was a bigger album, I think, than Vroom Vroom.
Oh, definitely.
But it was big in the underground for sure. Charli is nothing if not a boundary pusher.
Yeah.
Like you said, she gets bored really easily sticking in one lane, right? And, you know, she talked about this on The Moment. Like that was her big creative output kind of about this idea of I don't want to be stuck in this shell, this idea that people have now created of me from the Brat era, and I want to try to do something new. Interesting that we had Wuthering Heights, the album, kind of in between these two, you know, Brat and this new Charli XCX8, as they're calling it. But I'm very curious to see what comes of a rock inspired album. I think that the interview shouts out Sucker as probably Charli's most rock influenced album to date. That one, I mean, very little rock influence. There is guitar on it, but like it's not exactly a rock album.
Yeah.
The interview mentions that she's not using auto-tune, which is like one of her big, I would say, like signatures in her music.
That is really fascinating.
They do mention that a lot of the guitars are very heavily distorted, so that's interesting to me.
That makes a lot of sense to me. One thing that works really well in so many different genres of music is sort of like a gothic aesthetic. And I think of artists like Gaga and Charli, they both have like undertones of ness to them.
Yeah.
Gothicness?
Well, gothic and goth are different, distinct subgroups.
Yeah, I'm thinking more gothic.
Yeah. Okay.
They love like sheer black lace and fabrics like that, and they love something that looks like kind of undone. They love like messy dark hair. They love like vampy makeup. And that kind of lends itself well to so many different genres of music. So it doesn't surprise me that she's doing something rock. I've always wanted to see Gaga do something rock too, because so many of her inspirations were like huge rock stars.
I mean, Born This Way was a little bit definitely like 80s hair metal inspired, I feel like.
Yeah.
I'm excited to see what Charli does. I do think that like a pop star or a star that's coming outside of rock music and going into rock can be a bit of like a bomb. Right. I mean, we've seen this with other artists, like when Lil Wayne tried to make his rock album, that was like a complete garbage, one of his worst reviewed albums ever. I think it's a good sign that she is still working with Finn Keen and A.G. Cook on this album, because those are creative minds that she has worked with for a long time. Little precursor to our conversation about Mother Mary. These are collaborators that she has worked with and that I feel like understand her whole thing, right? Her whole vibe. And I hope that she can continue to make great work with them. But it does give me a little bit of like anxiety about what it's going to be, right? Because we both want it to be good, I think.
I have no doubts that it's going to be good. And I actually was thinking, I think that her first like full album, True Romance, definitely has more gothic. I mean, sorry, not gothic. It has more of a rock and roll sound than I think Sucker does, actually. And that was a good album. And that she got her first record deal and produced that. She was making songs on MySpace that kind of sounded more in line with that. So while this is the first time that she's really proclaiming I'm stepping into rock and roll, it's kind of like been part of her from the beginning. So I think how could it be bad?
Yeah, there is a little bit. There is like that overlap. We talked about this with Harry Styles' album. I feel like there's an overlap between kind of the party scene that Charli grew up in and that indie sleaze era of music and like rock music. Like, you know, the Strokes kind of came up in that same type of community, not exactly the same, right? Because Charli was in London and the Strokes were in New York, but like, you know, there is a little bit of an overlap there, and she does have the energy, I think, where she's able to pull it off if she, you know, is careful about it. I'm very curious to see how this sounds. It's very exciting.
Wanna break the na. I'm trying to remember that song. Is it Break the Rules?
Break the Rules, yep.
Yeah.
Another thing that we brought up last week, Jeff, was Madonna's new album, Confessions 2.
Madge. I can't wait.
At the time, she'd only released a teaser for her debut single, I Feel So Free, from this album. But since then, she has put out the whole song. So, Jeff, have you listened? What do you think of it?
Of course. Love the song. I think it's so cool. I think you described it as a vibe set. Is that what you said?
A vibe setter.
Yeah, a vibe setting track. And I
Mhm.
love that. I thought that it reminded me, I think I said this to you too, that it reminds me of a lot of the interlude videos that some big artists are doing now when they start a concert,
Yes.
which very much is in line with what you're saying, is like this is really setting the tone of the album or the tone of this era.
Yeah, I
I think
agree.
it's great.
So maybe my expectations were a little bit too high based on the teaser, but like basically I was like, okay, the teaser will be the teaser. This is the lead up, and then maybe the song will evolve into something else. And it turns out the song is really like a 5-minute long
Yeah.
build, right? And it's not bad by any means. It's very dance music. Obviously, we know that from the title of the album. It's very, it never really like it completely explodes into something.
Yeah,
But
which
it
I
is
like.
the first song
Edging.
on the album.
Madonna's edging.
So it'll be cool to see what follows this. I'm sure we'll do an episode on this album.
Of course we will. When's it come out?
It'll be a fun one. It comes out July 4th, I think. July 3rd. July 3rd.
Justin, that's just before our live episode. I'm saying it on the pod. You have to keep it in.
Yeah, that's worked every time you've done it before. That's exactly why we have full-length episodes of video podcasts on YouTube.
Justin, you're the one who refuses to do the video pod. You're like, I don't wanna.
Is that true?
Yep. It's Justin's fault, everybody. Believe me.
Okay. Well, listeners, we have lots of clips on the socials.
No promises were made on my end. I didn't drop the ball.
Geoff, you saying I didn't drop the ball is bringing up a lot of questions that I feel like your statement, I didn't drop the ball, is already answering.
Justin, I think we have to move on. We have a packed show today.
So true.
So let's get on to our next hot topic, which is also, coincidentally, about Madonna.
That's right, because we're going to talk about Coachella Weekend 2. Sabby C, of course, one of the headliners of Coachella this year. And in Weekend 2, she brought out Madonna for a cameo during her set. So Madonna performed her new single, I Feel So Free, which we just talked about.
Mm-hmm.
Jeff, did you see any videos of this performance?
Of course I did, because I love Sabby C, and I love music.
And I know you love Madge.
I do. So I had to watch it, and I thought it was very fun. It was obviously, I think they must both be with Warner Brothers, right? This has to be like a synergistic kind of matchup.
Could be.
It's gotta be. It's gotta be. I'm not going to do the research. It's just a feeling I have. But I want to tell you, I think that...
Sorry, what? That's the alternative title to the pod.
It's just a feeling I have.
I didn't do any research. It's just a feeling I have.
Oh, yes. That is... Well, if I ever broke off and did my own, that would 100% be you're the only one who's doing any research here. You're keeping us on the straight and narrow, Justin. Despite my wacky pulls to the right and left.
They are not both on Warner. Sabrina's on Island. Is that owned by Warner? No, it's owned by Universal. So there you go. Different
Universal
parent companies.
Music Group, honey.
Yeah.
Oh. Okay. Well, anyway, delete all of that. And and I thought it was fun that Sabrina brought Madonna onto stage. I can't remember, Justin, this is my thing. I can't remember what I've talked to you about on, texting, or if this was discussed in person on the pod.
Okay.
But I feel like it's cool that she brought Madonna out because she's exposing Madonna to like a new audience of people. And obviously Madonna is the blueprint for every female pop artist, period.
Mm-hmm.
Because there were none really before her.
Yeah, at least we talked about Cher last week, right? So like that's an
Cher
example.
And Tina Turner, I would not say are pop artists, but they were both two of the first successful solo female acts that became huge.
It's hard not to look at Madonna and see her reflection in every single female pop star that is big right now. Like it is just hard not to see the reflection in a way that we don't see Cher reflected or Tina Turner reflected in those same stars. Another cameo that happened was Justin Bieber brought up Billie Eilish during his performance of, One Less Lonely Girl, I believe. Billie Eilish,
so cute.
After this happened, I guess people who are like big fans of Billie Eilish already knew that she was a big, Bieber stan. But I personally did not know. And then all of these old videos of her when she was like 12 or 13 surfaced of her, that era of like recording on photo booth, like dancing around to Baby or whatever. Some very embarrassing but cute videos of Billie Eilish.
It was so cute.
Yeah. So what did you think of this, Jeff? This Billie Eilish, Justin Bieber cameo?
Oh, I loved it. I thought it was really fun. I think it's cool that Justin was like I mean, obviously, like Billie Eilish has achieved everything she's wanted to, and is huge and super talented. She and her brother, they're just like incredible people and prolific artists. And it was so cool to see Justin like let her live out like her other little girl fantasy, which was like her getting to meet Justin Bieber and have him sing to her. I thought it was really adorable. And I
Yeah.
loved seeing like those, I think Billie Eilish is one of those very authentic pop stars. She's very of the Gen Z generation in that way. Like she's no bullshit, she's no artifice. She came up doing bedroom pop. She's always been like the same person, and all these videos and clips that she released afterwards like prove that.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it's fun and I guess a little bit validating for me as somebody who gets like really horribly starstruck with like the most C-list celebrities you can imagine.
Yeah.
Like to see her kind of freaking out. I think she like cried on stage after when she came on, like, and she didn't really want to go up. And I think Haley, Justin's wife,
Hmm.
was like, "Go, go, go! Like
Oh,
it'll be fun."
Haley,
Yeah,
our girl Haley.
we're close friends. No, but it was nice to see that reaction, which seemed very genuine and like she really did
Yeah,
appreciate it.
it was super cute.
And this leads us to our, I guess, final another thing that
Oh,
we're touching on from last week, which is, after we talked about Justin Bieber's Coachella performance last week, the
yeah,
discourse around the performance and the style of his
yeah.
performance has been absolutely rancid.
Hmm.
So I want to kind of just, I guess, set the stage for what this conversation has looked like. So in case you missed our episode last week, Justin Bieber, a significant portion of his Coachella set involved him scrolling through YouTube and kind of singing along with his past self on his older songs, especially, from his teeny bopper era, like Baby,
Yeah, when
etc.
he was J Beebs.
And the discourse has been some people, I mean, we didn't like it, just to be put that out front. I think both
Yeah.
of us were kind of like, this isn't really our thing. And I think a lot of people took that even farther to be like, this is one of the worst Coachella headline sets of all time. Justin Bieber
I
also was
mean,
reported to have had the highest fee for any Coachella headliner ever. So
yeah.
that has also been part of the conversation. It's like, wow, you're paying Justin this amount of money for this, like, shitty quote unquote performance.
I think I read that he was getting $12 million.
It's something around there. But it's the biggest headliner fee of all time for Coachella, which is it's wild to me that Justin Bieber pulled that, but good for him. And then the other side of the discourse is like Justin Bieber fans and people who liked the performance who are saying, Justin Bieber has been through a lot and he doesn't owe us anything. He doesn't owe his fans anything, and people clearly liked the performance because, people who were there were clearly enjoying it, which you can see from the videos. Like it was not like the crowd was silent, right? This was a huge performance for people that were there and the fans that were in the crowd. So I guess I just wanted to kind of touch on that, given that when we talked about it last week, it was kind of like a flippant, like, oh yeah, it seemed a little bit low effort. We weren't really into it.
Mhm.
Wanted to, I guess, revisit that in the context of these debates that are happening now.
Do you have any other thoughts about it now? Has your mind changed about whether or not it was worthy of A, that money now that we know how much he was paid, or B, if you think artistically it was, poignant, or if it was like kind of like artistically bankrupt?
Yeah, so I have a bit of a nuanced point on this. I feel like the money angle is kind of silly because when it comes to money,
Right.
the only thing that matters is, are people showing up and are people paying to go to see Coachella?
Are people having a good time?
And clearly people are, right?
Yes.
Like clearly people are showing up. Justin Bieber fans are there. They're having a great time.
Right.
For the people who probably matter most to those who are paying him, this was a successful performance.
Oh, sure. 100%.
The money conversation to me is like kind of silly and dumb.
I agree with you.
I don't think that we should be like saying, oh, was this performance worth X amount of dollars? Because like you can run the numbers on that and clearly it was, right? Your personal opinion doesn't matter.
Right. Because look how much attention Coachella got. Look how many people paid, like you said. So yeah, business wise, great investment.
Totally agree.
Great investment.
There's another conversation which is creatively, I personally find it interesting or exciting.
Mm-hmm.
And there's kind of two angles to that. There's like the craft. You can look at Sabrina Carpenter's performance, which there's a lot of production design. There's a lot of stage design.
Yeah. It's a true show in my
Theater.
mind. Show with like and theater. Theater and show with capital T and S.
It's almost like a theme park attraction in
Right.
some ways, right? In terms of entertainment value. And that's one way you can look at it. And then there's like the more art focused, like, is this interesting conceptually, thematically?
Mm-hmm. And what do you think of that?
I still just don't think that this is very thematically or creatively interesting to me, right? And
Yeah.
the reason why is because these YouTube segments are so backwards looking, and it's more about nostalgia for this previous era of his career than it is
Mm-hmm.
about pushing things forward and saying anything interesting. And this is the same reason I wasn't
Right.
really about Swag, the album, or Swag 2 either, right? Because it was very one note creatively, thematically, where it kind of just felt defensive and a little bit withdrawn, where he was like, I'm just going to sing about how much I love my wife. And that's the album. I'm not saying that Justin Bieber is like a bad person or that like Justin
That's what
Bieber
I heard. You were
doesn't
talking a
deserve
lot of
this
shit on him
performance.
before
Like,
we started this recording. You're like, he's a crap dad. He's not even that hot. You had a lot to say.
this is all hearsay, and I never said any of these things.
Mm-hmm.
But I do think that, like, you know, I am more interested in people like Charli, who's constantly pushing the boundary and trying to do something interesting,
Yeah.
as opposed to creative works. I mean, we talk about this all the time in context of like film, right? Like things that are just kind of digging up old media and reviving it for people to relive their childhood is
Right.
not as interesting as something that's really novel.
I agree.
To me, that's where I stand on it. And I think that, like, you know, Justin Bieber, he's gone through some health problems too, right? So like it could
Yeah, he had Bell's palsy for a little bit.
exactly. So like I'm not saying at all that he should be out there performing like Michael Jackson. Like that's not what I'm asking. I'm just saying like thematically the music and the performance could be about something that's not just like, hey, look at all these cool songs that I made
Mhm.
back in like 2006 or whatever.
Yeah. I do feel the same way about the performance itself. Like, I don't think it was very artistic. I thought it was kind of like nostalgia bait. And that's okay. You know, you don't have to do anything boundary pushing. Like you said, I did like Swag, as we
Mhm.
discussed on the pod. I thought it was like fun, vibey music. But, I am more fascinated, like you, with artists who are pushing boundaries and giving us something totally different and new and having like something very high concept, which is part of why I'm so excited for Act 3 from Beyonce, the GOAT. But I also don't mind when artists are like, hey, y'all, this one is a record that's just for me and I'm just having a good time.
Yeah.
Like, I kind of feel, and I don't want to upset people, but I kind of feel like that was what Dua did on her last album. I think it was something that was meaningful to her, and it didn't necessarily have to transcend and be something that was a statement for everybody to like live by or for other people to reconsider their own lives. I think she had an album that was personal and she released it, and it was a moderate success, and she was like, I'm just having fun. I really am proud of this album and I really liked it. And I liked it too.
Yeah.
So I
I
think
also
it's
liked
okay
it,
to have
yeah.
artists who do stuff that's for them, or they're like, hey, I'm just having a good time and seeing what I can make. Like, I just think that the art of creating is valuable no matter what.
Yeah.
I do want to say this about the money.
Sure.
I think it's worth mentioning that if a female artist had done what Justin Bieber did, which was dance and sing along to music videos themselves,
Yeah, this is a big part of the discourse too.
I think the conversation would be very different. I think that expectations for and I've said this many times before on the podcast, male artists can go out on stage and take off their shirt, and that is like the height of their performance. But it's like women have to dance, sing, be sexy, be coquettish and coy about it, and not overtly sexual to the point that they are whorish or whatever other names people want to assign to them. Like, the bar is a lot higher for women to be deemed like worthy entertainers than
Yeah, I
men.
think that an important context here is that a female entertainer, a female pop star would never have made it this far with an act like Justin Bieber's. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
Like they would not have been hired as Coachella's number one like headliner
Yeah.
in this way. And I think that's part of the thing that is like, it's not like something that is critical of Justin Bieber as an individual, because if he had got this opportunity and, given the stuff that he's gone through that has been very difficult, maybe he doesn't want to put so much of himself into his performance anymore because of the personal experiences that he's had and the health experiences that he's had.
Mm-hmm.
That's no shade to him, right? He's just taking an
No.
opportunity. But you got to ask, like, who are the people making these decisions? Like, it's more of a systemic problem than it is like this one guy. Do you know what I mean?
Sure.
Like, it has to do with the system that has brought Justin Bieber with this style of performance to the level of stardom that he's achieved, and not similar, like, analogous female artists who maybe, you got to be Sabrina Carpenter basically to headline Coachella.
Yeah, this reminds me of when Lady Gaga, during I think it was the MTV Awards, maybe it was the Grammys, I can't remember, she performed Abracadabra, and she did it on a very small stage while she was standing behind a synth. I think we talked about it on the pod.
Yeah.
And I remember being like, oh, I was really surprised. I expected like more of a large form spectacle and theatrical performance from her, because that's what we're used to and what we have come to know and love about her. But she maybe like Charli are probably the only female artists who could get away with doing what Justin did, because their fans ride so hard for them. But they still would have received the derision of everybody else in the public.
Yeah, Charli's Brat performance is such a good comp to this, right? Because that is just Charli on stage. So, like, in some ways, it's analogous to Justin Bieber's performance. But again, in my opinion, it is more creatively boundary pushing and consistent with the album.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, that album was so about like subverting expectations in every way, and also just being like your true authentic self and just having fun.
And creating a club environment in like a large room, I think.
Yes, exactly.
And there is like an idea and an intention behind that I personally do not see in Bieber's performance. And that's not yucking anybody's yum who liked it. And I think it's also like totally valid and cool to like it just because it's like nostalgic for you as somebody who was a big fan of Bieber in the past, you know?
Oh, yeah, 100%.
Okay, moving on to some new music, Geoff.
You know I love music.
We got the new single from Olivia Rodrigo's upcoming third album, and the single is called Drop Dead. This is produced by Dan Nigro, her frequent collaborator and also the producer behind Chappell Roan's album. And it was co-written by O-Rod, Amy Allen, who we've talked about on the pod many times, and of course, Dan Nigro.
Talented singer, talented songwriter.
So, Geoff, what do you think of this new song?
Love it. Can't wait for this album. She is such a cool artist, and I always enjoy her music. Driver's License is the only one that I think was a little too sappy for me. But, you know, she was also like a young girl, young singer, young performer, new performer when she created that music. And I really loved the rest of Sour, and I'm just excited for her. I always love that she's like a little bit edgy and like has like that sort of like Vans Warped Tour energy.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. Like the song is called Drop Dead. If all you knew was the song titled Drop Dead, you'd be like, okay, classic O-Rod. She's talking shit about another of her exes again.
Yeah.
The beginning of the song opens with her saying, you know, I wish you would never finish that beer, which could have a bunch of different meanings. It's only like after the first verse is over that it becomes clear, like, oh, okay, she's into this guy, right?
Yeah.
I guess if you know The Cure, you probably were tipped off by the Hurts Like Heaven reference, but like...
And I don't.
I enjoy that she's playing with the perception of her, with her reputation, with the content of her old music on this song. And musically, it's just very fun. It feels like it goes through like 3 acts. You know, you have your kind of like very Chappell Roan casual coded intro.
Yes.
With the bubbly synths that Dan Nigro puts in there. And then you kind of go to like this, I guess, kind of The Cure with like strings and like snappy drums in the middle part. And then during the bridge, there's like a guitar solo, which is very fun and cool and very, you know, rock influence, which is O-Rod's want, is to include guitars and that type of influence in her music. It's also just one of the catchiest songs that's come out this year. Tell the whole damn world how one night I was born in bed. Like, I've been listening to it a lot, and I was not like a huge O-Rod fan for maybe the same reasons that you're talking about with Driver's License, where I was like, this is a little bit too far into like the teeny bopper category for me.
A little
you know?
saccharine.
Maybe I'm a little old to be listening to this as a grown man. And I'm probably still old to be listening to Drop Dead as like, you know, a 34-year-old, but like...
What?
This one hits.
I don't know her.
It hits for me. And I'm happy that O-Rod's happy. And this is a very cute song, very cute music video. Which
I love the music video.
I think is so fun. And, you know, there's a name drop of Versailles in the song. And it seems like they were just like, let's see if we can get Versailles. And basically, it seems like they had like 2 or 3 hours to record the music video in actually Versailles. And that's very cool and very fun. So, yeah, I'm very excited for this album. We'll definitely have an episode about it when it comes out.
Yeah, I do have to say the one thing that I'm like slightly a little bit turned off by is the like kind of baby doll look that she's rocking the entire video. I'm just kind of like, in 2026 we're doing sexy baby?
Interesting coming from an Ari fan.
I don't know about the... Okay, well, we can't even get into this. Okay. It's a different time, Justin. I'm talking about 2026, the age of the Epstein files.
I personally did not see it as like a baby vibe. I just thought it was like frilly PJs type situation. Because she's like, you know, in this French palace, and it was, kind of like
You're thinking
Marie
like
Antoinette.
Marie Antoinette. Okay.
Exactly. That's what I was thinking. Okay, final hot topic, Jeff.
Okay.
This one I think you might be into.
Oh my God, wait, yes. I am so into this. And did I send this to you on Instagram?
Indeed you did.
Okay.
Indeed you did.
Thank you for compiling.
So this news broke over the last week that Cate Blanchett is set to star as Martha Stewart in a new biopic, which is being directed by Janicza Bravo, who directed the A24 film Zola. The Zola thing was famously based on a viral Twitter thread. And it actually I haven't seen the movie, but got really great reviews. Apparently was really funny. So interesting choice of director for a biopic, in my opinion. And of course, Cate Blanchett, just one of our most iconic actors, She's incredibly good in everything she does.
Yes.
Jeff, tell me how hype you are for this film.
Justin, I actually can't even tell you how excited I am. I can't think of more perfect casting than this. Cate Blanchett is one of those, okay, wait, this is so interesting too. I don't think I've ever heard her say her full name. And the way that you pronounce names is often different than how I would pronounce it. Like, to me, I'd be like Cate Blanchett, but you said Cate Blanchett. And I kind of like that. It is hitting my ear in a really nice way. So I'm going to say Blanchett because I like that. But Cate Blanchett is one of those actors who really fully disappears into her roles. And Martha Stewart is such an icon. She has such a very specific way of speaking. Like her parlance is really one of a kind and very hard to mimic. And I know that Cate Blanchett's going to get it down. And I also do think there is something about Martha Stewart. She herself has a good sense of humor, but she is one of those people who is funny without trying to be funny.
Mm-hmm.
Just because she's a little bit odd. All this to say, I think that the choice of director is good because part of what's great about Martha Stewart and what people like about her is that she's able to laugh at herself and does know that she is pedantic and a little bit too particular and rigid about certain things. I think everyone remembers when there was that documentary that came out, I think last year or the year before, about Martha Stewart, which she, co-produced, I believe. And there was a video of her telling one of her kitchen staff, to use a larger knife to cut the orange.
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember this?
Yes, I remember this, very minor controversy thing, yeah.
Yes, and for some reason, it just got such a huge thing. But I was the thing about Martha Stewart is, firstly, she is correct that you should use a very large and sharp knife to cut citrus. But the thing about her that I love is that she's a little bit autistic, rigid. And I can say that because I am too, about certain things of there is a way that things need to be done. And let me take this moment to educate you, you silly peon, you silly ignoramus, and I'll let you know how it's actually done.
I've never experienced this
so that you can go
from
and improve your life. You've never experienced this from me. I don't do this. I certainly don't try to take over in the kitchen. What are you talking about?
Definitely not. Yeah, I think this is an inspired choice of director. I mean, Cate Blanchett is incredible in anything, so she's a great choice for pretty much any role. I think that honestly, Jeff, if you haven't watched Tar, I think you should watch.
Of course I've watched Tar. Are you kidding?
I think that is maybe an interesting thematic comp to this Martha Stewart biopic. I don't think Martha Stewart is as openly villainous as Lydia Tarr is.
I don't think that Martha Stewart is villainous.
Right. But I think she's a complicated character in a similar way. She's somebody who I think, found a lot of fame and then fell from grace. Right. And then that's when Tar ends. But
I'm very curious how they address this in the film.
Exactly.
Very curious.
Ever since Martha Stewart's, sentence, she's come out and has been, I think, a lot more tongue-in-cheek about her public persona, right? Collaborating with Snoop Dogg and stuff and kind of leaning into her more, I guess, edgy vibe now that she was in prison for a while.
Yeah.
So, yeah, this should be one to watch. I'm not usually a biopic person, but the combination of the subject of the biopic and the director is really fascinating to me here.
Yeah. I can't wait for this. I'm so excited about it. I'm fully sat, and I'm a huge Martha fan. I just put my Martha on the mantle in my closet the other day.
Right.
Even though it's fully the middle of April, the end of April at this point, I still have Martha on the mantle sitting on my credenza next to my TV. And I also just said the word credenza. So that should tell you something about my fandom.
Okay, Jeff, let's take a quick break and we'll come right back to talk about Mother Mary.
Let's talk. in a minute after we break.
And we're back.
Justin, we're so back. We're so ready to talk about a little film that we both had the pleasure, I would say, largely, of watching this past weekend.
I would agree. And that film is called Mother Mary. This is the latest film from director and writer David Lowery. It's the follow-up to Peter Pan and Wendy, which was his previous film, and his last A24 film, The Green Knight. This stars Anne Hathaway as the titular Mother Mary, a pop star who has taken a sabbatical from her music career, and Michaela Coel as Sam Anselm, a fashion designer who has a complicated relationship with Mary. Mother Mary is about to make her return to the stage, but her dress is not up to her standards, so she approaches Sam with a request. That's how the movie begins. There's music in this film that is written by Charli XCX, FK Twigs, and Jack Antonoff, and I've learned recently actually has some production from George Daniel, which I think is cool.
They love to collab.
That music is collected on a companion album, Mother Mary Greatest Hits, which was released last week on April 17th, which April 17th also when the movie was first released, but it didn't go into wide release until this week. So we weren't able to see it until yesterday.
Correct.
So before we get into the film itself, Geoff, I wanted to ask you, do you have any history with David Lowery, and what was your expectation of this film based on the trailers?
So I thought that this film was going to be like a frightening psychodrama?
Psychothriller?
Psychothriller, thank you. And this movie, like, kind of, I think that the trailer belied like what the movie was actually about. I think it's so hard, especially with these movies that move like at a fast pace, to like have a trailer that is enthralling and interesting and makes people want to watch without giving too much away. Although I'm saying that, and then I'm thinking of the Pluribus trailers, or teasers, which were so
incredible. Yeah.
So incredible, made me want to watch, and like
gave nothing away. Gave
nothing away, but really they were great tone setters, vibe setters, as you say. But I don't know David Lowery's work, so can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's exactly why the trailers can't be like the Pluribus trailers, is because Vince Gilligan is a very well-known name in the TV world. He's like one of the great showrunners that is still working today. David Lowery, I think, is like, he's kind of like a if you know guy. Like if you know his films and you like his films, you're probably excited for this, but he's definitely not like a household name. So,
and DYKYK?
I do know.
Okay.
So I've seen two of his films. I've seen The Green Knight, which is his previous A24 film. I thought like really underrated the year that it came out. Incredibly good. Starred Dev Patel, who is an underrated actor.
By the way, so hot, so underrated, such a sweetheart.
He's insanely good in that film. He also directed Pete's Dragon, which is the live action remake made by Disney.
That was like his first big work?
Well, no, not his first big work, but David Lowery is one of the one for them, one for me, one of the biggest of those types of guys in Hollywood. He's constantly doing like one A24 indie film and then doing like a remake for Disney, because his most recent film before this one was a Peter Pan and Wendy film, like a live action, not quite remake, but like a sequel to the original animated Peter Pan.
What a fascinating guy.
I mean, it's really interesting in the context of this film, right? Because I think that he's obviously obsessed with this idea of creativity and trying to platform it somehow to get eyes to see it. How do you get your creative work into the public sphere, into the pop sphere, right?
Yeah.
And I think that he is a fascinating filmmaker in that, you know, Pete's Dragon was actually surprisingly good for a Disney live action remake. Maybe the best Disney live action remake,
you saw
in my
that
opinion.
One?
Yeah, I did see it. I watched it with Brandy, and it was really good. Starred Robert Redford. Like, what the fuck?
Oh yeah, that was like his last film, right?
It might have been his second to last or something like that.
Okay.
But yeah, he's really good. I want to see his film Ghost Story, which I think was his breakout. And that one, I think, was also his first film with A24. So I haven't seen that one. Really want to see it. So I was very excited for this from the David Lowery perspective, and also because it has to do with something that we're both fascinated with, which is like pop music and fame. So with that out of the way, Geoff, what did you think of the movie? Did you like it? Did you not like it?
That's a hard question for me to answer, because there were things that I really loved about the film. I think Michaela Coel who I loved in I May Destroy You, which came out years ago at this point. It was a limited series on HBO. Since then, I've been a huge fan of hers, and she's picked some really fascinating roles. And she's also, in her own right, a great producer. So I thought that her performance in this film was excellent. Same with Anne Hathaway. They were really the only two characters of note in this entire film.
This is almost like a play.
I was going to say, I thought that this would make a really great dramatic stage play, especially like well, we don't have to get into that yet, but I think overall the film was visually stunning. I think that the plot maybe didn't fully come together in a way that I had hoped it would, but I did think what was interesting about this film was that it was questioning about, or it wasn't really questioning, it was like exploring the way that different artists approach creation. And I thought that that was kind of fascinating because I think that's really what the movie was about at the end of the day. I think everything else that happened in the film, all the other plot devices were just in service to that central kind of question.
Yeah.
But I'm curious what your thoughts were.
Yeah, this movie is on like a very specific wavelength that I feel like if you're attuned to this, like I think this will probably be many people's like favorite movie ever. Like there's a very specific, very writerly tone, especially to Michaela Coel's character Sam. Like the movie opens with her giving like a monologue, and I was like, whoa, this is a lot right off the bat. And it's like very writerly, very literary, right?
Yeah.
And that's how she talks throughout the whole movie.
Yes.
And
100%.
I think that some people are going to be like, this is so my shit. And like probably more people are going to be like, this is kind of off-putting. And like this is taking itself a little bit too seriously for a movie that's about pop music.
Yeah, it was sort of giving Sylvia Plath vibes.
Yeah. And it's just interesting. We are in an era now where I think like, I mean, we do it here on this podcast. Pop music is analyzed as if it is literature, right? The poptimist perspective has been around for a while now. And it does seem like this film is in direct conversation with that. I'm not sure if it's entirely trying to be like pop music deserves that level of analysis, or if it doesn't think that, or if it's kind of abstaining from that entire conversation.
Yeah.
But I think that it is saying like there are creatives who are trying to put their really like thoughtful creative work into the hands of pop stars. And that's one mode of creation that exists in this time. All that is to say, like, it's a very serious movie. There's like maybe one moment I can think of where like there was a laugh in the theater that we can maybe get into in a little bit, but I think that may turn some people off. For me, I'm somewhere in the middle, and I found myself really enjoying most of the movie. There were a couple parts where I was like, this is a little bit too like eye roll, this would never happen to me. But there were also a few moments where I was like slack jawed in the theater. I was like, holy shit, like this an image matched with like a musical cue that I'm wondering if maybe you're thinking of a similar moment, but like it reminded me of Stanley Kubrick or something. Like it felt very old cinema to me. So for me, overall positive with like minor notes, I would say. I think I probably have less of an issue with the plot as you, because I saw this more as like a folk tale than I did a movie that like needed a coherent and satisfying narrative. And I think that that's what Lowery is really good at. Like The Green Knight, very similar. Like it's kind of like a primordial story that he's kind of just reproducing with these incredible visuals more than it is like a plotted, twisty turny narrative.
Yeah.
It's more of a elemental story.
Yeah, what you said about it being a folktale does resonate with me, because I do feel like this feels like a campfire story almost. Like a ghost story.
It's quite literally like a possession story, a haunting, right?
Yeah, it's fascinating. So it is sort of like that. I have to say this. I do think that this movie came out at a weird time of year, considering the subject matter. I feel like this would be a great like spooky season movie, and I think it would really do numbers in that way.
It is interesting. Yeah, I think this was delayed from last year. So
okay, maybe that has something to do with it.
Which is part of the contribution to Anne Hathaway's massive year. I mean, this is coming out like in wide release the week before the Devil Wears Prada 2 comes out. I'm sure that A24 would have preferred that not be the case so that she could promote this movie. Instead, she's like hot on the Devil Wears Prada 2 train right now in terms of promo. Yeah. But yeah, I think that's probably why the timing. I do want to say like Anne Hathaway, great in this role in a way that I didn't expect. I expected her to be playing like the Taylor Swift part, the Beyonce part a lot more often. And instead, she's a lot more vulnerable because, as you mentioned, The vast majority of the screen time in this movie is kind of just a conversation between Sam and Mary,
Yes.
which I did not expect based on the trailers, right? It's much more of like a two-hander where they're just kind of talking to each other about art and
Which is
creation.
why I think it would make a great play. That plus the cutaways to the tales about what happened in the past.
Right. Structurally, basically, the entire movie is just like these few days at Sam's, I guess, studio when they're kind of working out what this dress is going to look like. And they have occasional flashbacks to either Sam's or Mary's perspective to things that had already happened. So like that's the structure of the movie, much simpler than I guess I was anticipating.
Yes.
But they are like punctuated with these, I would say, pretty visually stunning musical numbers from Mother Mary. Like,
right.
What did you think about Mother Mary as a pop star? Like, I couldn't come up with like a one-to-one comp. There's like obviously a lot of influences there.
I also had a tough time with this. I read later, after the fact, that this was modeled very much after Taylor Swift and that Anne Hathaway herself was inspired by Beyonce for this performance, this role. I saw much more of like, it almost was like if Lana Del Rey and Lady Gaga had a baby, is kind of what I think of the character Mother Mary, and what that kind of artist is like. And like, of course, like the Charli XCX sounds, because she co-wrote a lot of the music, or all the music that Mother Mary performed, Charli XCX was involved with. And it's funny that I said that earlier, that they're like Charli and Gaga both have like a kind of gothic underpinning, because Lana Del Rey does too. And so it kind of worked well, I think, for this character.
Yeah, it's very interesting. I think that like I understand what the intention of picking Taylor Swift as the influence is, or like why that was David Lowery's inspiration for this film.
Yeah.
Because she is like modern day religion, right? I think that's kind of like one of the themes of the film is like the way that these pseudo religious figures, I shouldn't even say pseudo, but like these super famous people that stand in for what in the past may have been like a religious figure, right? I mean, think about like Michelangelo.
It's idolatry.
Exactly, right? Like Michelangelo, an artist that was relatively secular, and then he got hired by the Catholic Church, and that's actually why a lot of his art is well known now, right? I think about that in the context of Mary and Sam's relationship, where how does Sam get her relatively niche form of artistic expression in front of the world?
Yes.
And in 2026, it's Taylor Swift, right? It's Mother Mary. You get it in front of the world by like having the most famous person in the entire world perform their art in front of people.
Exactly. Very Michaela.
So I understand why that is the case. That being said, Taylor Swift is not that serious about her own music. Do you know what I mean? Like,
yes.
Or at least she portrays an impression of not being that serious about her own music.
Well, I think she's very serious about her own music, but I don't think she takes herself as seriously as Mother Mary does as like an artist.
Right.
If that makes sense.
That makes sense.
I think what she does is very serious. I do think that Mother Mary is very self-serious, and so is Sam.
Yeah.
And that was interesting to me because, as we go further into the film, we realize that there wasn't an enormous falling out that occurred between them. It was more of like a friendship that just sort of drifted apart slowly and was never acknowledged. But that caused a lot of hurt between them.
Yeah, you're right. I think that is part of the like mindset you need to get into, is like that an artist like Mother Mary that is this self-serious and kind of, I don't want to say joyless, but kind of joyless in a way. Like her performance was very icy and cold. And Lady Gaga sometimes portrays that, but also has like an aura of warmth in other songs. Like, I think that it's a little bit of a cognitive dissonance to see Mother Mary being the Taylor Swift figure in this world, being like the Taylor Swift equivalent, because I just don't think this kind of music would have the same level of fame that Taylor Swift enjoys, right?
No.
But I also understand that it's for the purposes of the movie, right? Because a lot of the songs that Mother Mary sings is about the creative relationship that she has with Sam. So obviously that's not, Taylor Swift talking about Jake Gyllenhaal, right? Like that would not make a good movie, right? So I understand why they had to do it, but I think it may be part of the reason why some people may not connect with this, just like on a basic level.
Yeah, that makes sense to me. One thing that I kept thinking about throughout the film was that these people are so in their own heads and honestly, in a way, up their own asses, that they couldn't like step back and realize like the things that happened between them were just like business. I mean, there was certainly a friendship there, but I'm talking specifically about like this supposed rift between them, which again really was just kind of a creative departure.
Mhm.
was just like business related, and it wasn't personal. But I think because they're so serious about their work and so self-serious, they thought that, or especially Sam's character, felt that this was like an extremely personal attack on them. And I think what really underlined this for me was when Mother Mary, whose like real name is not mentioned in this film,
I'm
so we
assuming it's
just
just Mary, so that's why I've been calling her
probably.
that. Yeah.
One thing that Mary said that really underpinned that for me was she was talking about her new song and was like really upset that Sam didn't want to listen to it. And
Right.
she's like, it might be the greatest song ever written. And I was laughing a little bit about that.
I this is such a fascinating tightrope walk, and I don't really know how other people fall on this issue. But like, one of the things about this movie is you kind of have to buy into the fact that these two people both think that this pop music is the most important creative work of all time.
Hmm.
There's absolutely no cynicism about the pop music world. There's no like, we just got to put an album out to make money. There's no like, what were the record sales? It's completely straight. Like, we need to make, this is like,
It's like high art.
this is David. This is,
Yes.
give your example of whatever high art you can come up with, right?
Right.
That I guess kind of is the wavelength that I'm talking about. If you're somebody that like believes that art is like magical and wonderful and like
Transcendent.
a miracle that it ever exists, then this movie's for you. If you're Ron Swanson and you're like, art is a waste of time, this is going to piss you off so much.
Yeah. Yep.
I also wasn't sure if I was supposed to, I think that in the film, it was intended to kind of be like half joking.
Okay, yes. So
Yeah.
this is what I thought was interesting was I laughed when she said that in the theater, and nobody else around me laughed. And it was not a packed theater. There was probably like 6 or 7 like other people there.
Yeah.
But like I laughed out loud when she said it might be the greatest song ever written. Because I was like, what a fool to think that she is this important and is like this prolific.
It's really interesting because I think that she says it kind of half jokingly, but she almost wants Sam to be like, it could be.
Yeah,
She wants the
exactly.
validation. And that's, we haven't really said it explicitly, so let's just say it. Like, what this movie is about the creative process between these two creative individuals,
Yeah.
and how difficult it can be to have a feeling or an idea that you just can't express. I mean, there's multiple instances where in this film where Anne Hathaway's character is like trying to express what she wants the dress to be like. And I guess this is, now we're talking in metaphor about what the project is, what Mother Mary should be, her self-image. And she's trying to express it. And the back and forth between her kind of like more instinctual knowledge, like feeling based, intuition based, knowing what she wants, and Sam's kind of different mode, a very wordy, like explicative, descriptive version of creativity, so that she can actually manifest that into the real world. And that is what has haunted them since their breakup.
Yeah.
Mary was missing that creative partnership. There are a lot of, you can come up with any number of creative partnerships in history that are similar to this, right? Like similar, but not the same. Like John and Paul, we think about Taylor and Jack Antonoff a lot. I was thinking about that a lot watching the movie. Any kind of like songwriter producer duo where one is like very front facing and the other one is a little bit more in the background.
Elton John, Bernie Hoobie-Doo. Getting his last name.
We talked a little bit off mic about Michael Jackson, and I'm blanking on his producer's name, but it was
Quincy Jones.
Quincy Jones,
father
right?
to Rashida.
Exactly. And I would say completely inextricable from Michael Jackson's discography, right? So there's lots of these in history.
Bernie Taupin.
None of them match up one-to-one with Sam and Mary, but it's kind of invoking all of those different partnerships. And I think that that's what the movie is really about, is that type of partnership, and how it feels almost like a curse to have this inability to express yourself in the way that you want to.
Yeah, without the other person.
And simultaneously how it's a little bit painful to connect with the other person to kind of draw it out of you.
That's how I feel about this pod.
Yeah, one of the creative partnerships of all time.
This might be the best podcast ever recorded.
Yeah, and that's where it lost me, where I was like, I don't know if I can really take this that seriously. Like, I don't know if I can take with a straight face the idea that Mother Mary, Taylor Swift stand-in, is the peak of art,
Right.
But I'm not sure if the movie thinks that she is, or if it's just like she needs to believe that she is to get this out of her. Do you know what I mean? Like, that's part of the partnership, is that she needs somebody who's going to buy into this creative vision for her to manifest it.
That's interesting. I have to let that sit for a minute, I think, before I can really have an opinion either way. But what a fascinating observation.
That's what I love about this movie is there's a lot of nuance here. You know, it's not one-to-one with any particular person. It's
Right.
more kind of like this fictional relationship that tugs at a lot of specifics from the real world in different ways. Well, Jeff, while you think on that, why don't we take a quick spoiler break and we can get into some of the more mysterious aspects of the film.
Okay.
What's up, y'all? Editor Justin here. If you want to skip spoilers for Mother Mary, you can go ahead and skip to 1:16:20. Let's get back to the show. Okay, we're into spoiler zone. And I think this is where we can talk about how this is quite literally a possession film,
Sure.
a haunting. Because we learn that after Sam and Mary's breakup,
Creative
breakup business, although there's a lot of sapphic energy in this movie, Jeff.
Yes.
She is so stressed that she gets like a cracked molar that she goes to the dentist and removes. And after her molar comes out, a ghost, a spirit, a literal ghost, this is not like metaphor anymore, it's a literal ghost, emerges from her mouth and essentially takes the shape of kind of a fabric. I mean, it's also kind of vaginal at different points.
Yes.
There's a point where it looks a little bit like a uterus.
There's a point in the movie where it also looks like a birthed like fetus or something.
Right. So like it has these potentially multiple overlapping meanings and subtext, but it's this ghost that then we learn goes on to visit Mary.
Mm-hmm.
And Mary is basically like possessed by this ghost. And this is clearly to me like on a metaphorical level symbolizing the creative relationship between Sam and Mary. And then at the end of the film, Sam physically pulls the ghost out of Mary, which again, this is like symbolizing this creative partnership that they have, the specific pairing that they have to create this art, which I found like actually pretty cool. And I will say that the ghost itself was like the source of many of the most visually striking moments of the movie.
Yes, I want to talk about this because I love the way that they use this transforming dynamic piece of fabric to symbolize or for the visual likeness of the ghost or the spirit that was like haunting them, because normally when you think of that, you think of like a ghost taking like an anthropomorphic sort of look and feel to it.
Right.
And so for it to be something so abstract that's constantly changing was A, unexpected, and B, kind of, I think, was in keeping with the themes of the movie of art being like constantly in flux, constantly changing, difficult to describe. I think like you mentioned, Mary has a hard time even expressing the feelings that she's having and putting them into words.
Yeah.
And so it was fascinating to see that almost like reflected in the ghost, like constantly changing, moving around, difficult to describe.
Yeah, it was both kind of creepy and very beautiful, which I think is probably the intent.
Yeah, it was enamoring.
And the scene that I think of is, I will say that there is a flashback to, they reference it early in the film, but we don't see the events until later in the film, which is the reason why Mary is on a sabbatical, which is that she falls from one of her very Eras Tour-esque levitating platforms. We kind of assume that was what happened, but we never see it. And then we learn that the reason why she fell is partially because of the ghost, right? And there is like this incredible sequence when she steps out onto the stage for the first time, possessed by the ghost, and she sees the ghost in front of her and the audience is gone. It's completely pitch black. And there is, I'm sure it's some classical.
Is that what you were talking about, the Kubrick part?
Yes.
It almost felt like 2001: A Space Odyssey.
Felt very, because they use classical music in a similar way to Kubrick.
Yep.
It's probably some needle drop that I don't recognize because I'm not a classical music head, but like,
Same.
It's rare that I am like jaw dropped just from the visuals and the spectacle alone in a movie. And I was just like, holy shit, like this is peak cinema, like this is incredible.
I thought that scene will like probably go down in history as like a very iconic moment from this era of film.
Yeah, it still sticks with me and I'm getting chills thinking about it now. Some of the visuals are just on a different level. David Lowery has done similar visuals to this in Green Knight, where there's these kind of otherworldly, mystical or mythological things that are happening that are almost indescribable with words, but this is on another level. Like this is some, again, really Kubrickian type shit, which is a high praise from me. I'm a big fan of Stanley Kubrick. So
yeah.
Any other thoughts on this spoilery part of the film before we finish our conversation on Mother Mary, Jeff?
There were a couple of things that I felt like were not really well explored in the film that I would have been curious if they had like at least acknowledged. One, of course, being that like Mother Mary is like a classically beautiful white woman,
Right.
and that her creative partner, who like really is responsible for partially responsible for her look and her rise to fame because of it, is like a black woman who is gorgeous and striking, but not in a conventional way, and who like kind of took a back seat and was like the, you know, the second of the two hands, if you want to put it that way.
Right.
And so it was interesting to see that Mother Mary, this white woman, like took maybe for granted her friendship with this black woman, because I think in the film, like the most of the hurt between them was really felt and shouldered by Sam, and Mary almost was like a little bit aloof about it and was like, it was just business. I needed a new creative direction, and you wouldn't listen to me about that. Like, you had this idea of who I was in your mind and what you wanted to craft me as, and that wasn't something that served me any longer. And so like I had to move on to other people. That dynamic is interesting to me. And the other thing that you kind of mentioned already was there seemed to be like a sort of sapphic connection between
Oh,
them.
yeah.
And I felt like there was almost, especially from Sam, because she is so literary, as you described her, very poetic in her language. It almost seemed like there was like a romantic. It didn't almost seem like, it felt like there was like a romantic
A
pull.
spurning.
Yeah, spurning. What a great word. And I'm just interested about that.
Those are both incredible points that we haven't talked about yet. I think that the racial dynamic is not explicitly stated, but is subtext. You're right that it's not talked about explicitly in the film at all. But I do think that Sam, in the beginning of the film, is quite liberal with the venom that she spews in Mary's direction.
Yeah.
And I think that we are, you know, if we're an intelligent audience, and I think we are, we can kind of sense that she knows what went down. Like, that's why she feels such ownership over, you know, the Mother Mary persona, over her success, is partially because she knows that she deserves it. And that's something that I appreciate about Sam, is that she's never like apologetic or like, oh, I feel insecure or insignificant in front of Mother Mary. She's like, I knew from the beginning that part of the reason for your success was my influence and my contributions to it. So I do think that that's subtext. And I also did have a couple of thoughts on the same front. There are many creative partnerships like this, or at least maybe I'm just thinking of like Jack Antonoff as a producer and his relationship with many female pop stars like Taylor Swift. But I do think that there's a narrative, unfortunately, that comes behind some of these relationships where it's like, oh, the male producer is really the talent behind this female pop star who's kind of just a vessel for his creativity. Sure. And I think that David Lowery probably wanted to sidestep that entire conversation because that's not as interesting. And like, you know, that's not the point that he's trying to make. Yeah.
Yeah.
And also not true. That's a good point. So that's probably why Sam is a woman here. And I also think that a lot of the sapphic subtext, and some of it is not subtext, right? Like there's cuts in multiple places. Like there's the cut in Mary's hand that is very vaginal. There's also the cut that she makes in her own chest that is very vaginal. And then Sam, sorry to use the word, but literally fingers the cut in Mother Mary's chest.
That scene was crazy, by the way.
So there is like text and also subtext about a potentially sapphic relationship between these two. And that's something that is never really tied up into a neat bow. It's unclear whether there actually was potentially a sexual relationship between them at some point, or if maybe just the act of creativity and birthing something like this is like a semi-sexual act in and of itself.
I like that, birthing this.
I mean, she's literally like pulling it. I mean, it's like a vaginal cut in her chest that she is pulling literally the creative fabric out of.
Well, and when she was talking about being visited by the ghost, she was like, I had a cut in my chest and there was a trail of blood leading from my bed to the floor. And that's when...
And it looked a little bit like a fetus.
It looked like a fetus. Yeah.
Absolutely. Wild. Yeah. I mean, that's kind of something I like about the movie, is that it doesn't put a fine point onto this and it kind of lets
that
us...
part, yeah, I'm cool with that.
Yeah. So those are, I guess that tackles both of your kind of things that we hadn't already talked about. Two things I want to touch on really quick before we close. One, side actors here. The only other actor of note, I think, is Hunter Schafer. You know, she's good in the role. She doesn't have a ton to do, but she's game to play like a fan, basically. She works for Sam and is a fan of Mother Mary. And I thought she was perfectly fine, but it's good to see her working.
Yeah, I felt the same. I felt like all the other actors didn't have much to do, and their roles were very limited. I think there was maybe like 8 minutes on screen total that these other actors were in
There was also FK
the film.
Twigs, who was
Hmm.
a vessel for the spirit to find Mary, right?
Yeah, which was interesting to me because I was confused. So FK Twig's character was Imogen, who I believe was just like a super fan who seemed to have like won a contest of some kind
Right, right,
to like have like, one-on-one time or group time, whatever, with Mary.
right.
But it felt like the spirit, and this was like my only question that I had about the film, where I'm like, well, of course, in this world, none of this actually makes sense because like we don't really have these metaphysical interdimensional beings, in our everyday day-to-day life.
Yeah,
But in the world of the film, it didn't make sense to me that this ghost needed another vessel to find Mary because it had already left Sam, and they seem to already share this connection between them. So that was the only part that was a little confusing for me.
yeah. It felt like they needed an act two, and they needed to show more about this spirit. I think that the in-universe logic is probably that the spirit could not enter Mary without something summoning it, because there is the Ouija board part where they
Yeah.
like have to go through that aspect, and then Imogen is possessed by the spirit, and that opens up Mary to the spirit. So like that was like my very basic level interpretation, but none of it is ever very over explained. It's never explained at all, really. It's kind of just
Yeah.
like, again, it's more like a folk tale. It's kind of just like, this is
Yep.
what happened. And I didn't have as much of an issue with that part because I was just
Okay.
like, whatever.
I guess in my mind in the movie, looking at this as like an audience person, as a person who like critiques movies often,
Mhm.
I felt like they were like, we need to create a role for FKA Twigs.
Yeah, that's also possible.
And like she was good in it. She's a good actor and she was great in this role.
Lots of physicality in the possession
Yes.
part. And similar to I mentioned the only other laugh in the theater, which is when
The
Mother
dancing.
Mary does the dance without the music.
Yeah.
And it's very long.
It was such a long scene. And it wasn't even like a oneer.
But there's a couple of moments where, the dancing starts off a little bit like pretty normal, like a normal dance routine. And then it gets really weird and like
Yeah.
The Exorcist, or like maybe a little
Yep.
bit sexual, which again, going back to those sapphic subtexts.
Yes. It was all of those things.
And Sam's face is kind of always just like, oh, okay, we're going that hard. And then
Yeah.
when the dance is over, there's like a beat. And then Sam says, how are you going to breathe during any of this? Or how are you going to sing
Yeah.
during
How are
any
you
of
gonna
this?
sing? Yeah.
Which gotta laugh.
Yeah. That I thought was funny. And it does make me think of this one part. There was like a Beyonce documentary that she did years ago. I love my music documentaries and concert films. And she had one, I think it might have been for the I Am World Tour, which was her third studio album single,
Mhm.
as a solo artist, I mean. And she was like rehearsing, and her creative director was like showing all the dance moves she's going to do. And she's like, that's all well and good, but how am I going to sing?
Maybe that was a direct reference then.
I was wondering if it was, because then I read that Anne Hathaway was inspired by Beyonce.
Mhm.
And that is something Beyonce does say often, because her creative team often will come up with excellent choreography. And she's like, okay, but we have to modify this because I got to sing the song.
Right.
Because, she does the live vocals.
Mhm. And then the second thing I wanted to talk about, the ending of the film, which I thought maybe potentially on one of the other things that would be turning off people watching the film, because you would expect that this would all culminate with like a climactic performance that Mary performs with the dress on. Of course, that isn't what happens. Basically, like Sam's entire team comes in when they're like mid exorcism, and like they both have to have stitches on their chest, and Mary actually goes to her comeback performance wearing the dress that she hates. And there's like this back and forth cutting between what Sam envisions Mary doing with the reality, which is Mary ripping off the dress and going up on stage, kind of like in her like skin colored
her undergarments.
And we don't see any performance of the song. All we see is the finished dress that Sam produces. Again, not on Mary, which again, this is a little bit enigmatic. I didn't really know what to make of it, and I still don't really know what to make of it.
Yes. This is where I felt like the plot fell short for me, because I was like, okay, what was the point of all this? I get the ghost tale of it all. I understand the connection. We were questioning, about the creative process. We were thinking about how art is made and what its intrinsic value to the world is, and whether it's more important if the art comes from one person or if it's a team of people together, I think was another question. I didn't quite understand the ending because, like you said, it just seemed like it didn't really have the satisfying finale that we've come to expect.
Yeah. And I guess like I am willing to accept that because of the way that the movie has been hard to define up to that point. Just like spitballing here, live analysis of the finale or the end. It's possible. I mean, I wonder, we've been talking about Mother Mary kind of needing Sam to release the creativity within her.
But you think maybe the opposite.
Right. Like maybe the damage that Mary did to Sam during their creative breakup, perhaps like this was a way for Sam to really resurrect her creativity, because the dress is the part that's made. And I think it's fascinating that we hear that Sam had not been listening to Mother Mary's music. And actually, we never heard the potential best song of all time, which had some like really weird title like Spooky something, which I was like, that's a bad song name.
Yeah, I can't remember.
But I was like, this might be terrible. And I wonder if the intention is that, you know, maybe the dynamic has flipped a bit and Sam has created this transcendent dress and has left Mother Mary kind of hanging. Maybe a bit of a darker turn, a little bit of a revenge story almost, or if not a revenge story, a swapping of their dynamics, you know?
That's interesting. I hadn't really considered that. But maybe that doesn't make sense. I choose to accept that.
I think that the movie itself is kind of uninterpretable. You know what I mean? It's supposed to be a little bit obtuse and strange in the same way as that dream spirit fabric.
Right.
Hard to describe.
Hard to define. I like that. That could have been an alternative title for the movie.
Hard to describe.
Hard to define. Yeah.
Okay, so that's enough of the movie. Really quick.
Yes.
Let's talk about the music.
Let's talk about the music.
The soundtrack album that came out alongside this. What'd you think of it?
I really liked it. I do feel like it had that kind of gothic underpinning that I've mentioned so many times now. That's probably like count 8 for gothic underpinning on the pod. I thought it reminded me a lot of Lady Gaga's song Bloody Mary and that entire album, which was The Fame Monster. And honestly, this movie could also have been called The Fame Monster.
Yeah, The Fame Monster, yeah. Interesting.
I mean, that album, I think, has a lot to do. I think that there's a lot of parallels here between, like, Mother Mary and Lady Gaga, because they both, like, are fascinated in the idea of religious idolatry. They're both fascinated with the idea of, like, the creative process. Or, like, I guess, like, when I say they, I'm talking about the movie. Yeah. And maybe or maybe not the character herself. But I do think that the music is good. I mean, we talked about this when we were talking about The Star Is Born a few weeks ago, like having like the in-movie songs or musical artists is always fascinating because sometimes the music is like knowingly bad or shallow or whatever they're trying to convey about the character in the film.
Right.
But what do you think that it had to say about the character?
The songs themselves, the lyrics are very explicitly about the relationship between Sam and Mary. There's the sapphic song, My Mouth Is Lonely for You, which feels very sexual. And, you know, in the universe of the film, maybe it's like, you could see that maybe Mary wrote this about somebody else or whatever. But like in the real world, in this movie, where there's such a sapphic undertone to this film, it's hard to interpret it in any other way. And I will say that that's the only song that Charli XCX was not involved in. This is the one that's written by FKA Twigs instead. So there's also 2 songs called Holy Spirit and Holy Spirit 2 that allude to like the semi-religious overtones of a lot of these pop stars fan bases, you know? So that's also pretty interesting. Burial is one that I'm not really sure how to interpret. This was like the lead single that we talked about on the pod. Maybe this is like kind of the breakup song of Sam and Mary. I'm not 100% sure. In terms of like sonically, it's just very cool to see these songs out in the world, sung by Anne Hathaway, who I think is great vocalist, obviously, like classically trained. Yeah. She reminds me a little bit of Lady Gaga in her intonation, because I think they're both like classically trained vocalists. Like Anne Hathaway was in the film adaptation of Les Mis and, you know, has a long history of being a vocal performer, similar to the classical training that Lady Gaga has had in her past. In terms of like the songwriting style, you hear like those Jack Antonoff, Taylor Swiftian, you hear those overtones on Holy Spirit. And And you also hear kind of like the very Charli-esque, like almost pseudo rap hooks, right? During parts where she's kind of like rapid firing, almost spoken word style, some of these hooks, which are very Charli.
Yeah.
So I find it like an interesting album. Some of them, you can tell that the songs are written for film because like the bridges have no lyrics and it's clearly just like an instrumental break so they can like, use that in the film. Like,
Yeah.
so it's
Like
not quite as
B-roll.
satisfying as something like Wuthering Heights, which is clearly in and of itself like a creative work that kind of exists outside the film. I think you kind of have to have seen the film to understand the album like on a creative level. But with that in mind, I think it's still like a fun listen, and it's cool to see these people working together. I was trying to rack my brain to remember if Charli XCX and Jack Antonoff have ever worked together before. I don't think they have.
I don't know.
Obviously, Jack has worked with the 1975, so he's worked with George, but I think this is the first collaboration between Charli and Jack, which is pretty cool.
I wouldn't be surprised if they worked together on her new rock album that's coming out. That wouldn't surprise me at all.
That'd be fun.
Because he does work with 1975. George Daniels is obviously in that band. And he, of course, has Bleachers, which is a great rock band. I think that would be very cool. Yeah, I mean, the thing is, like, Anne Hathaway is a great actor. And I think she's also a good vocalist. And I think, like, for her to embody, like, a pop girl convincingly is a huge accomplishment. And I think she really does it. And I'm like, okay, like, you can sing. You have the aura, the stage presence of the pop girl.
You're like, just do it. Just do Mother Mary.
I mean, like,
in real life.
She doesn't have to like do a bunch of tours or anything, but I would not be mad if she like continued pursuing music, especially if it's sort of like in this similar like tone. I think that'd be very interesting.
Yeah.
And like, I feel like she's going to end up in my Spotify Wrap because I really love Burial. I've listened to it probably like 3 times since watching the movie, which was last night.
Cool. Yeah. I think my favorite is probably Holy Spirit 2 of the companion
I
album.
like that one as
really
well.
Cool. There are some Wuthering Heights vibes with like the kind of stringy interludes before and after songs. So you can kind of hear the Charli. And that also is very like Jack Antonoff in 1975 coded too. So
I really think that Charli is, and I'm saying this like not as a stan, just like objectively, I think she might be like a musical genius. Like, I really just think she knows what works. Wuthering Heights is like an objectively strange film, and the soundtrack is even kookier. If I were to tell you we were going to take like Charli XCX music and then put like a full ass symphony behind it, you'd be like, that is going to sound like a fucking mess, but she just makes it work.
I mean, Wuthering Heights as scored by Charli XCX sounds like a lesser circle of hell to some people. Do you know what I mean? Like, so it's crazy. It's a miracle that it worked as well as it did. So yeah, it's kind of like TikTok fever dream type shit.
Right.
It's crazy that it worked and it continues to work here. Yeah, you're right. I mean, her output, she's been so prolific since Brat. I mean, I know she has been like historically in her career, but it feels like she's like on another level at this moment. And in that Vogue interview, it sounds like, I mean, there's a anecdote about her kind of breaking down in tears at a part of the interview because she has just so many things on her plate. So I hope she's like spending a little bit of time for herself, but I admire the amount of stuff that she can do and the quality level that she maintains across all of it.
Yeah, she's extremely tenacious and talented, which is its own, like, that would be an interesting movie too. Like a movie that really takes on the idea of ambition. I think I'd be fascinated to watch something like that. I don't know that we've seen one that was truly about ambition. Like, I think about American Psycho, that was like mostly about greed.
The Moment is kind of about ambition in a way.
Yes. I think I would like a movie similar to Mother Mary in its tone and in the way that it approaches the film, as like a dramatic, fully immersive dramatic story, not a story that is like told with like a wink to the audience like The Moment was.
Yeah.
But that tackles the idea of ambition, I think would be really fascinating and something a lot of people across cultures and gender would relate to.
Well, Geoff, I think it would be fascinating to take a quick break and talk about some what's goods afterwards. What do you think?
I thought you were going to say, well, Geoff, I think we should create that film. And I was going to say yes. It may be the best film that's ever been written.
This might have been the best podcast that's ever been recorded. What do you think?
I think so. And because of that, I do think we deserve a break now.
We'll be right back.
And we're back.
We're so back.
And Justin, we talked about a lot of things today.
Mm.
A lot of the pop girls, as we're wont to do. We talked about Sappy C, Madge, Lady Gaga, B,
Anne Hathaway,
T Swift, and of course, Anne Hathaway. We also talked about Martha Stewart, Cate Blanchett, new pronunciation, and some other shit that I can't remember off the top of my head. But what we haven't talked about yet, Justin, is what's been good with you in the past week.
Well, Geoff, I discovered an album from the artist Fuckers, and this artist's name is spelled F-C-U-K-E-R-S. So it's as if you were...
I haven't heard about them in a while.
Typing really fast, or if you're maybe a little drunk. This is the debut album from Fuckers. What's up, y'all? This is Justin as I edit the episode. I realized in editing that I never actually said the name of this Fuckers album. So it is basically just a capital O with an umlaut, which I'm assuming is just pronounced O, although it kind of looks like a screaming face. So not exactly sure how to pronounce that, but let's get back to the show. They are a New York-based duo made up of vocalist Shani Wise and producer and instrumentalist Jackson Lewis. I will say Shani also does a lot of the production on the songs, but when I say producer, I really mean like DJ. During the live sets, he's DJing and like playing some of the MIDI instruments, and she is usually singing, Shani.
Mm-hmm.
This album was largely produced by Kenny Beats, who you maybe remember him from producing the Geese album, Getting Killed. So this guy is a real Rick Rubin going from genre to genre because this is not a rock album. There's also some additional production from Dylan Brady, who is half of 100 gecs, the hyper pop icon.
Okay.
Not familiar?
No.
Okay. They're like big hyper pop duo.
Say it again. Gecs.
100 gecs.
100
Gecs. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
I like that name.
So this is a very feels like mid-aughts styled album. It reminds me a lot of Bloghouse, which this is like this hyper specific era of dance music when blogs were like really surfacing a lot of house music, and it was very like lo-fi garage band type beats.
Yeah.
The vocalist Shani reminds me so much. Do you know that Justice song Party, or The Party, I think is what it's called?
Sing it a little bit or hum it.
It's this very high-pitched female vocalist that's like, let's get this party started, right? And it samples fly, oh.
Stay up the whole night. Let's get this party started, right? Let's get drunk and freaky fly.
Oh, yes,
Yeah.
I do remember that. Yeah.
All of Shani's vocals sound a lot like The Party from Justice. And Justice, of course, one of the standbys from the Bloghouse era. So the general vibe of this, it's very like the Dare, Knots, like
The Dare. Oh my God. Justin, all these polls.
indie sleaze, revivalism, minimalist dance music. When I listen to this album, I feel like I'm in a basement in college again. Like it really brings me back. And it's just very fun, very like raw sounding electronic music. You know, talking about Charli, it does have some Brat vibes to it in the same way, you know, the Dare produced Guess, right? So there are some similar influences there. It's even more like stripped back and minimalist than Brat, I think. So I think that like there might be like a knee-jerk reaction to listen to some of the songs on this album and just be like eye roll immediately, like this is insane, or like this is so minimal that it's like a little bit cheesy. But I invite you to try to get into the mindset. So a couple of songs I want to shout out.
Mm-hmm.
One is If You Want a Party, Come Over to My House.
Say you wanna party, come over to my house. There's no I like my body.
This song is probably the most likely to appear in a DJ Ben's mix. It is like a house song that's pretty fast. It's probably somewhere in the 130 something range BPM wise.
That is fast.
And it's just very high energy, very fun. It's the one that got me hooked. I think I heard it on like an Instagram post and I was like, what song is this? And then I like went and looked up Fuckers and listened to the whole album. That one is like great for a DJ set. And then there's another one called Shake It Up, which I understand is not as popular as some of the other songs on the album. But this one reminds me a lot of like Missy Elliott, kind of like early 2000s Timbaland production type stuff. There's this really weird synth in the background. It's a lot slower, so it's probably around like 100 to 110 beats per minute. Again, same tempo range as like a Missy Elliott, like Lose Control or something.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, Lose Control is a little bit faster than that, but like a more of a hip hop type beats per minute.
Yeah.
And there's a great line that Shani says on this song that's like, make your girlfriend want to fight me.
Make a girlfriend wanna fight me.
which I think is like really funny. It's just like being so hot that
Yeah, I love that.
that everybody's mad at you. You know, when you have those nights where you're just like, I'm gonna have so much fun that everybody's like jealous of me tonight, you know? And this song embodies that mindset and sonically brings me back to like, it almost feels like dancing to a song that is like really dirty at like a middle school dance. Do you know that feeling? That emotion?
Yeah, it's like rebellious, and like you feel like a little bit more grown up than you are. Like you feel like a little sophisticated.
And it's also like a little bit silly, right?
Yeah.
Like, like why am I listening to Get Low and I'm 14? Yeah, like
yeah.
So it's very that vibe. This is an album that just like brings me back to a different point in my life, I feel like, and it's transportive and I love it. So definitely give it a listen. And as always, you can find those songs on our What's Good Spotify playlist. So give it a look.
Oh, we'd love to create a playlist. And I've got another one to add.
Oh, tell me, Jeff, what's good with you this week?
Well, a little song that a dear friend of mine sent me.
Oh.
The song is entitled Better.
Okay.
And it is by an artist named Bauer, who
you may remember
created the iconic Harlem Shake.
And do the Harlem Shake.
Well, should I disclose that I am the good friend who texted you this song?
Well, Justin, it was going to be a secret, but I guess the cat's out of the bag now.
I just can't pretend like I haven't heard this before.
Tell me how you came across it. Why don't you?
Well, Bauer has actually been making pretty good music ever since Harlem Shake. He's like kind of moved very far away from the trap sound that he was developing during that time in 2016. Yeah. So I actually misspoke here. Bauer's Harlem Shake actually dropped in 2012 and went viral in 2013, although he was still definitely making trap music in 2016. So point stands. Let's get back to the show. And has since moved on to like very fast moving and very happy sounding house and techno music, and I would say trance adjacent music. Mm-hmm. So I just have been following Bauer, and I saw this song come up on my, like new music and listened to it, and I was like, something about it. I was like, I feel like Jeff is going to be into this, so I sent it over to you.
And Justin, you were exactly right. This song is very my vibe. This song reminds me of Justice as well, actually. What was that song that they had? I think it was called Dance.
Yeah, Dance.
I think it was DANCE. It reminds me of that a little bit, but it also reminds me of like the like late 90s, early 2000s era of like house music.
Yes.
Like Eric Prydz, Fede Legrand. It's like really fun, like jumpy, bouncy, happy music that like employs a lot of guitar that really works and gives it like a summery, sunshiny kind of a feeling to it. It's like very warm sounding.
It is a summer song. Absolutely. Summer
100%.
Rooftop type vibes. Yeah.
Yes. This is like, what's the name of that pool? Banneker? This is a Banneker song. Yeah. Banneker song. This is a Banneker song.
Ben does love Banneker. So should we rename it Banneker?
We should actually, I think. That would be a great birthday theme. Anyway, back to Bauer. Better get back to Bauer. But yes, even the graphics that came out with this song, I don't know if you've seen them, like aside from the Spotify cover.
I just know like the album art.
Yeah, there's like a YouTube video like with a visualizer. It looks very late 90s, 2000s. It's got like little flares, things. The font choice is very like Y2K. It has like the old like visualizer that has like the musical, like the bars showing the different levels. It just is like a very Y2K feeling, which I think is probably the last time I felt true joy in my life. And so I really love this because this similarly is taking me back. Call Bauer Justin Bieber because this nostalgia pull is really working on me. Good music.
I also really love about this song the fact it uses like a soul sample, like much of the house music that you were referencing.
Of course, like Chicago House.
Right. And it
the OG
begins with, I think, just like a direct sample without it being pitched up or sped up at all, which I think gives it this kind of like very warm and inviting entry point. And then it gets sped up, and then the hook is
and distorted.
You make me feel better, yeah.
In a fun way.
And the horns. You said guitars, but to me, what sticks out is the big horns, I think, that are really the meat of the drop, where it's like, boom, 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 boom.
Yes, exactly that. You were like a half pitch too low, but that's exactly it. Mm-hmm. It sounds great. I love the brass section in this, too. It feels like a wonderful mix of like big band, Chicago house, and like trance music too. Like there's some trance elements in here, particularly as you get further into the song
Mhm.
and things start getting a little more zany. And there's like an excellent guitar solo that I absolutely adore. I'm like, this is just fun, good music.
It's a little bit maximalist, you know?
What? A little bit maximalist? This is the maximum, baby. So many layers.
This is what Bauer's been leading into. I mean, even like, you know, Harlem Shake was a little bit maximalist at the time, but now it feels like he's really just like everything faster, everything more, everything happier, bigger. No shame in it being too saccharine or too much, right?
Yeah.
It's really a fun song.
Really fun. I really love it. And oh, this is a little tiny second what's good.
Okay.
I have been back on like house music in general, and there is this excellent album. I listened the shit out of this back in the day. It's an album called Ultra Dance '08.
Yeah, this compilation.
This compilation is incredible, and this song, Better by Bauer, feels like it could easily have been on this album. And this album's like a little bit later than the era of music I was just describing. This did come out in like the mid 2000s, but excellent songs, a lot of fun. Yeah, this is a summer of dance for me. I'm gonna be hitting the clubs.
Love that.
Me too.
Well, 2 big dance music releases coming out on our What's Good Spotify playlist this week, Geoff.
That's right. Oh, and his album You comes out in June. And
Yes.
Better will be on that album.
Very soon, very soon. Very summery vibe. I'm excited for that album too.
I'm excited for the summer. I can't wait. I'm tired of this overcast rain bullshit. I need like hot heat.
They literally just
Sunny
said
days.
we got to give them rain and cool weather on Saturday and
Yeah.
Sunday. The rest of the week can be hot.
Oh yeah,
Terrible.
100%. It was
I hate it.
75 degrees here the other day. I was stuck inside.
The worst.
Don't love that.
Well, Geoff, it's been a great episode. I think we had a great conversation about Mother Mary and about our What's Goods.
I think we did too. You know what I just remembered?
What's
The
that?
Farmer's Almanac and AccuWeather both said this is going to be a very hot, long summer. So I think we're going to have plenty of time to dance well into October even.
Let's go.
Be out in the streets. Be at the pool. Catch me at the pool.
How about that? All right. Let's call it a day, Geoff. Until next time.
Until next time, bye.
Bye.
This has been Bance with Geoff and Justin. Bance is created and produced by Jeff Taylor and Justin Benavides. Graphic design by Jeff Taylor. Editing by Justin Benavides. The theme music for Bance is The Track Nebraska With You by Sam Day and is provided by No Copyright Sounds. Email us at bancepod@gmail.com with questions, recommendations, or just to say hi. And if you like the podcast, don't forget to rate and review us on Apple, Spotify, or YouTube, and tell your friends. Bye.
Bye. I mean, it's interesting. Like the song is called Drop Dead, which if you had told us nothing else from this new album other than the title of the song Drop Dead, you'd be like, okay, it's another one of her like fuck you to one of her exes, right? If you had just heard the song title.
Yes.
Geoff, I'm gonna need you when you can switch the audio out on your computer to your microphone so that this doesn't happen.
Is that true?
That is absolutely true. I
don't know about that.
can give you the tutorial
I don't
later
think
if you're
that's how
interested.
that works. Yeah.